clerk please call the roll?
Mark Sadley.
Here.
Gary Stubblefield.
Here.
Mike Burns.
Here.
Rick Flynn.
Here.
Bob McAfee. Jim Bosey.
Here.
Roger Spencer.
Here.
Ladonna Allen.
Yeah.
We all please stand and join me in our pledge of allegiance and the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pray. Eternal God, as we begin another session of the Carl Junction Board of Aldermen, we ask that you invest in this board your strength and wisdom to fortify us and guide us so that we may enhance the prosperity of our community and improve the quality of life for those you've entrusted to us. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Rick. Next is approval of the agenda. Are there comments or corrections to the agenda?
Go ahead.
I move we approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Allen, second by Roger Spencer, that we approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Seven in the affirmative, one absent. The agenda is approved. Next is the consent agenda, which is approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, both open and closed, and approval of disbursements. Are there any comments, corrections to the consent agenda? And I'll give you time to got here a little bit to read the thing to make sure you don't have any corrections on the closed meeting. Any comments or corrections to the consent agenda?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second. Motion by Ladonna Allen, second by Mark Sadler, that we approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Seven in the affirmative with one absent. The consent agenda is approved. Next is the public forum. Anyone wants to speak at the public forum? This is your last chance. Anyone wish to speak at the public forum? No one wishes to speak at the public forum, therefore we will move on. Thank you. Next is review of DNR MS4 permit renewal for stormwater. I believe it's changed. Steve, you want to address this?
Yep. This is a 5-year permit with DNR that we do it on a cycle. It is drastically changed from previous years. This is the stormwater process that DNR through the EPA forces us to go through. Part of the changes are beneficial in their process. One of them is the fact that we only have to do inspections on our stormwater outfalls twice a year, basically one dry weather and one wet weather. The bad news to go along with that is that they changed the definition of an outfall. So instead of having 19 of them in the city, we have 44 of them. Some of the other changes are the fact that they've went to a more select an option for some of the things that you have to do. So you've got measurements that you have to do throughout the year, you know, public education, public outreach. There's an illicit discharge section with it, post-construction. All of that falls into this stormwater permit. And so what they've done to simplify it is they actually give you a menu that you can pick a couple of things from that you can do locally to fulfill the requirements of the permit, which is a lot easier than what it used to be. We will be having a couple of public forums coming up in March, one with planning and zoning and then one here with you guys. We will be putting all the information on the website. We'll be putting some information on the city's Facebook page. Try to get the word out on this type of thing. We're also putting together a binder that can be up on the front counter or there if somebody wants to see it just for public review. It'll have the map in it of where all these outfalls are at. It'll have a listing of all the outfalls with their location and their GIS designation on it. It'll also have a copy of the two forms that we have to send into DNR, a Form K and a Form N. That's part of the application process. Those are in your packet. And we'll also put our old stormwater management plan in there. And they have given us a year to implement a new stormwater management plan. And basically all we have to do with it is clean it up so that it meets all of the new standards that they've given us in this new permit. So it's going to be an ongoing work for the next year. Actually, because of where engineering has gotten us to this point, it shouldn't be that expensive for us to just modify and get up to the new standard, because Alger Martin had already had us at a pretty high standard as far as what we had basically in stock that we were doing with DNR. So that's all I have about it. If you guys have any questions.
You want to mention zinc or not?
Do what?
You want to mention zinc?
That's a different thing.
Different thing, okay.
I was going to cover that under old business
Hey,
or new
go
business.
ahead and cover it now.
Cover it now.
Yeah.
We got part of the wastewater treatment plant is we do quarterly reporting to them on some things. We do monthly reporting to them on the biologics of it, the contaminants and what we've taken out and how clean the water is, basically. One of the things that they instituted on us just over a year ago is that they wanted us to start monitoring the zinc level in the effluent. And they gave us two standards that we had to meet. One was a daily standard and then a monthly standard. So in our reporting in the last month, we met that zinc standard 26 of 28 days. But we failed the monthly standard 17 of the 18 requirements. And I don't know how the science works on it. I just know that we were out of compliance on it, and I know that it is, for right now, it is a monitoring compliance only. That is going to change. It's already changed in Joplin, and it's already changed in Webb City. There is no affordable, scientific way of removing zinc from the wastewater. Joplin pointed that out with the innovation that Webb City did over there at the 201 board lands that they've done. And since it's just basically starting, they think that will take zinc out, but they don't know for sure. Joplin applied for a variance with DNR. Missouri has granted that variance on the zinc levels. The EPA has not yet. So we are going to try to go about it basically the same way Joplin did, and that is first we're going to try to get those numbers changed so that they are more livable numbers for what we actually have and what our testing has proven that we have. If that doesn't work, we will have to go to DNR and get a variance for the treatment plant on the zinc levels.
And everyone knows why zinc levels are high, right?
We are part of the Tri-State Mining District.
Yeah.
Most of what they think, they don't know for sure. What they think is that most of it comes from inflow and infiltration into our pipes from groundwater, but they don't know. We know a set of data about how much zinc we have in our drinking water, and we have a data set that says this is what we've got in our effluent. They don't match. Imagine that. Center Creek is a contaminated creek. It's on the 303D listed, for contamination. It is a supposed non-body contact body of water. So we never encourage people that they can play in the creek. But they do as they want to, so we're just going through the process with them. Engineers working on it. We've got Missouri Public Utility Alliance behind us on it, working with us. And we also have the Association of Missouri Clean Water Agencies, AMCA. We're a member of both of those. They're working with us also on it. So.
Just an example of how what this happened on this. When I worked at Eagle Pitcher, we had a lead dioxide battery line, and we had filtrations, and you had the air coming out of the plant, and the EPA or MDNR came in to measure the amount of lead in the air, and we were over the limit, so they were going to fine us. So then we asked them if they'd please just go outside someplace else in the city and measure it, and it was twice as high as our exhaust, just in the air in the city, because we're a lead and zinc area. So that's the problem we get into. You have problems with people that make rules that don't live around this stuff. But anyway, I'm sorry. Anything else for Steve on this DNR thing? We don't need anything, right? You're just informing us that we're doing that. Anything else on that? Very well. Next is ordinance. An ordinance amending chapter 205-400 and 205-440, adding foul section to regulate foul in the city of Carl Junction. I believe we passed last time, and then it was whatever it's called.
Table.
No, it wasn't tabled. It was reconsidered
And
last
then
time, and then tabled. So
Are
if we want to discuss it, we probably need to put it on first reading again, right or not?
have we had first reading?
I think we had first reading.
So we
So we just need discussion then, or you need third reading?
second.
No, you don't need a third reading, but you tabled the discussion on it, did you not?
Yeah.
So you're just bringing it off the table.
Okay, bring it off the table for discussion on this ordinance. Mike?
Well, I'm the one that reconsidered it, and I reconsidered it because I kind of consider myself to be conservative, and being so, I don't think that the city needs to interfere in a lot of things. Obviously, protecting public welfare and safety of our citizens is something that we need to do, but at this point, I wasn't sure that banning roosters was something that we needed to
Jim?
put in our plate.
How many properties are we talking about? I mean,
Would you like to have David discuss why he
yes,
brought this to the council?
that'd be one. I didn't know who David was.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I probably should have done that to start with.
Okay, I'll try to answer all your questions, but
Tell us who you are, David.
I'm David Waymeyer. I'm the Animal Control Code Enforcement Officer for the city, for those of you that don't know me. And Mr. Burns, your comments, as far as protecting the citizens, that is what part of this ordinance is for. It's not just for banning roosters and everything, it's for the upkeep, the cleanliness, and welfare of animals to keep diseases and parasites from being spread. Because if you have too many animals in too small of an area, you have a high potential for diseases, which poses a threat to the citizens. And we have had noise complaints about roosters and stuff. Even had one in your area. It's throughout the whole town. Had them in Briarwood, this part of town, your area, or Osceola. Not a lot of complaints, but enough to where we should get some on the ordinances about it. Most municipalities do have ordinances addressing, keeping of fowl. I've got copies from Springfield, Webb City, Joplin, Carthage. They all address it. And we really have nothing except that poultry yard must be kept clean, so there's no odor. That's the only thing that our ordinance addresses, and it's outdated.
Yeah, Mark.
Okay, I'm going back to his question. How many different properties are we having complaints from? Is it like one particular?
No, like I
Property?
said, like I said, I've had complaints through all parts of the city at one time or another. I mean, I'd have to go back through, a couple of years of records to see, but,
So complaints of the crowing or complaints
yes,
of,
of the crowing mostly. That's why we put it in there for roosters. Because we really don't have anything to address that, to file for a peace disturbance, which is what that would fall under.
I just want to make sure that it is more than one property
Oh, yes.
because
It's like
that would kind of make us complicit in somebody of some sort of a feud between two neighbors.
Right,
And I don't want that. That's not what we're about, I don't think.
No. And if something like that comes up, I try very hard to settle a situation myself. I will send out a warning letter saying, hey, we had complaints, about your rooster crowing, all hours of the day and night, because they don't just crow during the daytime. And, if the people do not cooperate with me, I need something to go with.
Right.
Yes, Gary.
So I just want to clarify, because we don't just make amendment changes just here and there. This is complaint driven, and at the end of the day, it's not even so much about crowing, it's about safety.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Ladonna.
I don't know how much you guys went over the end of year reports for the PD that we got the other day, but something that kind of really jumped out at me, and if you look over them, the number of calls for animal control that David handles during the year versus the number of actual citations that he has to write. So I think we have a compliance and an animal control officer that's very good at going in and handling things without it having to get to this point. I would just say, I think if it is to the point that he is having to bring this to us, that it is something that he needs a little teeth to go in and actually enforce. He needs something he can enforce. I would say this is probably his last resort having to come to us, so I would just like to take that under consideration.
Chief.
There's one thing I'd like to add. We're not the only city that wants this ordinance. Most of the other cities have ordinance similar to this already. So it's not something we're out in left field with. There's cities having the same ordinance all over. It's where David went and got it. It's from other cities that have the same ordinance. Joplin has an ordinance similar to this, so. And chickens are popular backyard animals.
So if this passes tonight or whenever it happens, for people that have roosters now, I mean, is there can we grandfather them in, or is it, you're gonna work with
I
everybody?
would not recommend grandfathering them in. I would work with them and give them time to get rid of them. I wouldn't say, okay, ordinance was passed last night, you have to get rid of your roosters today.
Chicken dinner on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm gonna kill Charlie.
Anything else for David? David, thank you. Any other further discussion? Now what do I do, Mr. Dowling? We have to have a call for the vote.
No, you need to put it on second reading.
Second reading, okay.
I move we put this ordinance on second reading by title only.
Second.
Motion by Donna Allen, second by Roger Spencer to put this ordinance on second reading by title only. Will the clerk please read the title?
An ordinance amending Title II Public Health, Safety, and Welfare, Chapter 205, Animal Regulations by adding new Article 5 fowl and new Sections 205-400 through 205-440 to provide regulations governing the keeping of fowl within the city of Carlton.
Any further discussion?
Move we put this ordinance on final passage.
Second.
Motion by Donna Allen, second by Rick Flynn to put this ordinance on final passage. This is a hand vote Before we go to electronic voting, all those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 7 affirmative, 1 absent. Please vote electronically. The vote is 6 in favor, 1 against, and 1 absent. The ordinance passes.
Oh, excuse me, 2102.
2102. Thank you. Next is an ordinance amending section 125, 130 holidays to add President's Day to the holiday schedule.
If we put this ordinance on first reading by title only.
Motion by Don Allen, second by Gary Stubblefield. No, by Rick Flynn. Sorry, I didn't get you, Rick. Will the clerk please read the title of that?
And ordinance amending Title I Government Code, Chapter 125, Personnel Policy, Section 125.130, Holidays, to add President's Day to the holidays which may be observed by city employees.
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor, this was brought to me by several of the employees, thinking that because of other municipalities around here, school district, any government offices, basically, that some of them get as many as 18 holidays per year. By adding one more to ours, that it's something very much livable with as far as budgetary numbers go, and it's a very simple way to keep the employees happy.
Any further discussion?
Well, how many days does that take us up to then?
12.
Okay.
Well,
I move we put this ordinance on second reading by title only.
Second.
Motion by Don Allen, second by Roger Spencer to put this ordinance on second reading by title only. Clerk, please read the title.
An ordinance amending Title I Government Code, Section 125, Personnel Policy, Section 125.130, Holidays, to add President's Day to the holidays which may be observed by city employees.
Any further discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, Mike.
This may be a silly question. What happens when these days fall on weekends? Are they the next?
this President's Day, oh, we have, that's built into the rest of the code, like Christmas and those types of things. So if it's Saturday, you get Friday. If it's Sunday, you get Monday.
Okay.
President's Day, of course.
President's Day is always on Monday.
It's always a Monday. So.
Yes, Rick.
I'm just gonna say, are there any other holidays that we need to consider, and rather than coming back and doing this several times? If there's other people got 18 days off and we're only adding 12, I mean, are there some that we should consider now?
None that I would recommend.
Ones you can't have.
Good Lord.
My birthday and
One of the few that we do take off that a lot of don't get is Veterans Day, which I'm very thankful for, but a lot of government entities do not take Veterans Day, and we do.
Now we do a personal holiday on here, which is basically your birthday.
Not your birthday.
No,
Not my
no. Everyone should take my
you guys
birthday.
celebrate my
Everyone took my wife's birthday off today. She's born on the 4th of July.
Firecracker.
But it was a week, it's a holiday week. Any further discussion?
I move we put this ordinance on final passage.
Second.
Motion by Don Allen, second by Mark Sally to put this ordinance on final passage. It's a hand vote to go to electronic voting. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 7 in the affirmative, 1 absent, please vote electronically. 7 in the affirmative with 1 absent. The ordinance passes, and this ordinance,
21-04.
thank you. Next on the agenda is the administration report. It appears we have a new formatted administration report.
We have a remodel report in front of us.
Any comments or gripes for the city administrator?
The on new business, the tech grant, Canal Street sidewalks, that did get submitted to DNR on Monday.
there's a radio system,
Yes, sir.
and after reading this, I noticed that other areas could take advantage of buying this Mose Wind system. I would like for you to go out and find out how much that would cost us to do that, please.
I can get a hold of the Motorola rep and get them down here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Anything else for the city administrator?
You know
Yes.
about the basketball court, when the lights are gonna be down there?
When we get warm weather.
He's got final wiring and get the switch in and that's all it takes to get it in.
Anything else?
There was one other thing on there. Oh, the contract for Center Creek and for the Center Lane detention. He's gonna try to get started mid to late February, and it just depends on whether he can get equipment in there to get started.
Okay. How about the detention pond? Or anything on that?
Same thing.
Same thing? Okay. Very good. Moving on, we'll go to the department reports. Well, let's go to Public Works first. Jimmy's not here. Anything about Public Works? Anybody want to comment about Public Works? Water shut-offs or anything? Nope. Okay. Building inspector's report will be next meeting. What?
Yes.
Oh, you look like you're holding up a paper for me. Okay. Next is police department. Chief? Any questions for the chief? Well, he's here. Very well. Okay, committee reports. Let's see. Budget and finance. LaDonna.
Well, we are smack dab in the middle of holding budget meetings, and it's very interesting budget cycle with some of the changes and the impacts of COVID and the future possibility of changing wage structures. So we just keep plugging away. We finished with Jimmy's departments today. We've discussed some on the PD. I think we're gonna maybe revisit that before we're done. So I believe we're getting ready to get into our last meeting, hopefully next Tuesday. So if anybody has any questions, bring them up, or we will be presenting here in a few weeks a proposed budget for your review.
Any other questions for LaDonna? Very good. Code and nuisance, Rick.
Nothing, sir.
Human resources, Roger.
Just that we have a closed session coming up, and also I passed out a deal on the new evaluation form to the committee. I'd like to set up a meeting at 6:30 next meeting.
Did you give the city attorney a copy?
Yeah, he's got a copy of it.
Okay.
You got a copy?
Well, we'll make sure you get one anyway.
Yeah.
That would be nice. Thank you.
Anything else for Roger? Very well. Public facilities and planning, Mark.
I have nothing, Mayor.
Senior citizens, Gary or Richard?
Jennifer Shotwell with the area aging has said that they are, all agencies are collectively with the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services to sign up for COVID shots. And March will be National Nutrition Month for all agencies. And last year they were quite stymied because that's of course when COVID hit. So meal service is up, maybe not in the center, but on homebound. So we'll try to bring more information on that fundraiser. It's very
Okay.
crucial.
Richard, like say that?
I just wanted, what did you say there at the very beginning about COVID shots? Because I wanted to.
Jennifer says that they are working with Department of Health and Senior Services with signing up for COVID vaccinations. They'll have more to announce.
I just want to emphasize to you all that from a senior citizen's perspective, and I'm a senior citizen, and I'm talking from my perspective, so far, the way the vaccine has been distributed, it's been in groups of people, employees, people, residents in homes and different things like that. So you go in and you bring the people together and say, come down and get a shot. Okay. Now they're opening it up to senior citizens, another level. Well, the senior citizens are sitting around in East Oshkosh and wherever else in the world. Where do you go? And quite literally, it has been an absolute mess in the way that the state of Missouri and wherever has put this out. If you went to the state of Missouri website, it says, where can you, a week ago, now maybe it's different today because they said they're changing things. You can go to your local pharmacy. I didn't count, but there's thousands of pharmacies in the state of Missouri, and how they distribute to the pharmacies when you go there, we don't have any. Well, that is just nothing but frustration. So a lot of the senior citizens are frustrated in regard to where do I go to get a shot? And right now, it looks like the state of Missouri is changing to where they're setting up major hospitals in regions. So that'll include Freeman and Mercy and all of that as major distribution centers. So if senior citizens who are frustrated, and they very well may call you, point them to Mercy or to Freeman at this point, because it looks like they have the sign-up sheets ready to go. It may be a while before they get the shot. But up until this point, for the last couple of weeks, it's just been kind of, where do you go? And they don't know. And they're very, very interested in getting the shot. Most of them are very, very interested in getting the vaccine. So just FYI, to help you answer some of those questions if they come your way.
Just for your information, there's a phone number at Mercy that they can call, and it took me only about 5 minutes to get through, because a recording message comes on. If the recording message comes on, you push 1, and then it'll go again, and it comes on. You push 1 until it finally starts ringing. That number is 556-6416.
Okay.
I did that. It only took me 8 minutes.
Yeah.
That's it. Freeman also has a number you can call.
Okay.
We had a couple guys today do that at Briarbrook, and that number is 502-7468. Now, when their message comes on, if you get the recording, hang up and dial again, because there's no way just to press 1.
Yeah.
But those two numbers, and we've had people at Freeman that signed up today. We're going to get their first shots on the 11th and the 16th of this month.
Yeah.
So those are numbers you can pass out to the senior citizens if you'd like. Mark, you had something to say?
The only question I have is, I swear I've seen something on TV talking about Walgreens.
Originally, and you can probably call Walgreens and get on a list if they've got some vaccine. But it looks like they're changing the distribution from local pharmacies to hospitals that can do it on a more industrial strength level.
And we had a guy Monday who had signed up with the Joplin Public Health Department, and they called him and said, "Can you be out at the baseball complex at Schifferdecker at 9:30?" And he went out there, and it was a drive-through thing. You roll your window down, they're pulling his shirt up, and gave him the shot, and they signed out when he has to come again in 21 days at the same time.
Yeah.
So they're doing that in Joplin also.
I called 2 or 3 weeks ago, or when they first said it was available, becoming available, I called Jasper County Health. I really had very low expectations that they were hearing from them, because it seems to me like they got to make more phone calls than, whatever. But we did get a phone call, and Janice and I are going over tomorrow in the Carthage to get it from there. So it's there if you just get into the right place to do it. But I would concentrate on the hospitals at this point.
Yep. Thank you, Richard.
Yeah.
Any other
You can
questions
also
for
sign
Richard?
up online now too. They've got online for Mercy and online for Freeman.
I did online at Mercy and never heard a word from them.
Yeah, and there's supposedly the state is going to be releasing an online sign up also, and it's going to be associated with that showmestrong.org or .com. I forget which one it is, but they're, as Richard has said, they are drastically changing the way they're going to distribute it in Missouri.
Anything else for our senior citizens? All right then. Moving right along. Let's see, what did I do? I just did, I already did the Department of Community Reports. Oh, we got unfinished business. Gary,
No, sir.
Rick,
No, sir.
Nothing.
Richard, nothing. I have nothing. Ladonna,
Nothing.
Mike,
Nothing.
Mark,
Nothing, sir.
Jim,
No, sir.
Mr. Tally, Elena,
Sure.
Mary Beth, Crystal, Steve, Chief. What? They go too
You
fast.
might take a breath in between the two, okay?
Every time I call on you, you say something.
New business.
New business, Jim,
No, sir.
Mark,
No, sir.
Mike,
No, sir.
Ladonna,
No, sir.
I have nothing. Roger,
Nothing.
Rick,
No, sir.
Gary,
No, sir.
Mr. Tally,
No.
Elena,
Sir.
Mary Beth,
Yes.
you can see the rest of the city, can't you?
Yeah. I haven't even had a chance to talk to Steve about this yet. It's come to my attention. It's come to my attention due to February only having 28 days. 25th falls on a Thursday. So we can't do water turn-offs on Thursday, the 25th, so we have to do Friday the 26th. But it's also the last day to do bill cards before the end of the month, which we have to have done because we have people doing automatic debits on the 1st. So we're in a dilemma of not being able to do turn-offs in February, possibly. We're still working on it, but I don't know how we can work out the logistics of it and get bill cards out on time. Because our ordinance specifically states that I have to give them 10 days after the 15th. So I don't know if we want to look at maybe giving us, I don't know if we can give any leeway in that ordinance under certain circumstances, but the way it's currently written, I have no option to turn them off not until the 26th. And this month really poses a problem because of the way the calendar fell.
Okay,
So I'm just giving you a heads up.
well,
And if we can figure out a way to do it, we'll try, but
we'll ask Mr. Tally in a minute here when he finds that part of the ordinance. And we'll just go along and come back to him when we get done with new business. Anything else?
A circle, a circle.
It's like I normally do when I forget things. Hey, what? Crystal?
Yes, sir.
Steve?
No, sir. Thank you.
Chief?
Yes.
Okay,
Mr. Satterlee, we know now that light on the tower has burned out the last few days. We're gonna have that replaced. Legally, we don't have to have that. It has to be 200 feet, it has to be lit. That's 195, and it's taller than the water tower that's lit, so. It's gonna be $700 because you gotta pay people a lot of money to climb towers. So we'll get that taken care of.
good.
The other part is, if we're looking at buying radios for the police department, I'd certainly like to be included. It is one of my expertise areas. It is something that affects my department. And I know about some cooperative bids that are going on.
Certainly, certainly.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, when Mr. Tally is looking this up, yes, Mark.
I actually have one thing that's actually, I guess, old business, and I didn't think about it.
We'll circle back to old business for a minute.
Circle back.
Okay. Last meeting, we had a discussion about, stuff that was being put into pipes coming probably from the high school, junior high. We heard any update on any of that?
No, I talked to the engineer and he was going to do some research on a
basket.
a cistern or something that it can drain into and then go. And I have not heard back from him.
A rag collector. Okay. Well, Mr. Tully's looking it up. Kavanaugh, I just want to tell Eric that the boot's working pretty good for Jinx. His foot's getting better.
Okay. I'll tell him.
Just never know.
That's Chuck Wyrick. I call him Jinx. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Now we'll wait for Mr. Tally. As we circle back. Since everyone's giving me.
Okay, so I haven't looked at this other than right now. And it's as I understand what I'm reading, it's not delinquent until the 15th if it's unpaid. And then our discontinue service clicks in 10 days after it's delinquent. So the 25th is the earliest under our code you can disconnect. Now,
But can we disconnect on the 25th? I read it that we had to wait until after.
well, it has to be unpaid for 10 days, so the 10th day has to expire.
They're not delinquent on the 15th. The 15th is the last day to pay it without penalty, without being delinquent.
So they're delinquent on the
They're
16th.
delinquent on the 16th.
Yes,
At midnight on the 25th.
yes, that's correct.
Midnight on the,
So that they have the 15th to pay. So the solution would be probably, if you wanted to change that for the month of February, and this is only once a year that the problem occurs, you can make all the bills due payable on the 14th of them, after
And
the
we
14th.
can, I'm just saying, the way it's currently written, we just can't do anything. I mean, it's gonna be, everything being done in one day, and I don't know that we can do that.
Yeah, the problem is that the last 2 days are on Saturday and Sunday.
so it's only gonna happen every
4 years.
4 years,
No.
4 or 5 years,
4
yeah.
or 5 years. It's gonna happen
Every 5 years.
5 years.
So,
But you can't cheat the code. You can't do it sooner.
Right.
That's,
right, that's what I'm saying, it gives me no options, it's
No.
very black and
Well,
white.
why can't you do it on the 1st and the 2nd of March?
So, we can just, we'll figure something out.
I mean, you can do Friday, you can go to the 1st of March, right? You can start, you can disconnect them on the 1st of March too,
And with
right?
our software, we can't shut off, or we can't do new bills until after we've done the shut-offs. And we have people that pay right on the 1st.
I
Okay.
did that one at a time, and, because they weren't gonna get their bill until after they were shut off, so I went ahead and did the bill cards, and we were doing them, and then we did the turn-offs, and then we did the bill cards, and I got a lot of,
Grief.
grief, that's the word, grief, because they got the bill card, and the bill card said they had till 15th to pay the whole bill, you know, and so it's kind of like, I explained to them, and they didn't like it, but that's what it was.
So how many days does it normally take to shut off all these?
How many went?
Days does it normally take to shut off the meters?
They do it, they will get the meter shut off in the morning. There is an issue of we don't like people to go the whole weekend without water service, which is what would
That's probably
happen
a
on
very good
Friday.
idea.
We could technically shut off and get bills done the same day we have done that before, but then they would be off all weekend long.
Yeah,
And
so-
Those people don't get home till after work Friday and
For that very reason. For people who don't get home until after we've already left the office for the day, and they may put some, check in the night drop or whatever, you know, then we turn around and turn on the next morning, but that's not being there Saturday morning. We discussed maybe having people come in for a couple hours, so I really don't want to do that.
Okay, okay.
I mean, is there an option for not doing the shut-offs?
Well, I mean, yeah, you can always do that, I would assume.
well, no,
And then wait until basically March to do it. I mean, there's gonna
Then we
be,
get back to the 60 days and after February.
We could do the bill cards and hold them, do the shut-offs on Monday, and mail the bill cards on Monday. They're not gonna get them prior to.
People can get
It's just-
bills, well,
Yeah, it's just, I have,
what about the electronic billing then?
the people who are e-billed, and if they didn't pay, which I don't know if there's a lot of them that do that, they would get an e-bill saying they had until the 15th to pay the full amount.
You know,
and the e-bill would not include the $25 shut-off fee, which they would then be expected to pay to get the water service turned back on.
what if we just skip 1 month of disconnects?
COVID relief.
I mean, but like you say though, but they're still gonna have to pay it. So if they think, well, we got by without getting a shut off and they don't stop and put that money back, then you're,
Consistently have 50 to 60 every month. So if we don't do shut-offs in February, that number will increase, I'm sure.
To 100 to 120, possibly.
But on the other hand, it might not. 'cause
Is it the same 50 or 60 though?
Yeah,
40 of those are the same.
yeah. Instead of them all in 1 month, we're going over 2 months.
I don't think you'll see a total double of it. I don't think you'll see that 50 to 120, but you'll probably see 80.
80, 85. Yeah,
Yeah.
75 to 80 maybe. But that may not be true. Like I said, it's always usually the same people over and over again. So instead of them paying 1 month, they'll have 2 months. It's just harder for them to catch the bill up. I don't see any as options this month.
Just send
Unless they're gonna shut it off on Friday and let them go.
So it is pretty much a regular occurrence for a core of these people, month after month.
Can you still send them, hey, your shut off notice, and we're shutting it off, and then just not, that way they know
I'm still gonna mail out the delinquent notices, and I'm still gonna tell them
we're shutting it off.
they're gonna get shut off, but I just don't know if we're gonna be able to accomplish it.
could we add something onto the notice this time and let them know that they will be shut off on a Friday? And if there is a chance that they may not get their service reconnected over the weekend, maybe give them a heads up that you guys, you push it out every month till the very last day, but if you do it now, you're gonna be, is there any way just to add a line onto the notice?
Yeah, I mean, we have a little thing down at the bottom saying that if they don't have it paid by 3:30, their water will not be turned on until the next business day because our public works guys get off at 4
Mhm.
and we don't have anyone available to turn them on. So we could add another little thing down at the bottom saying that since they're gonna be turned off on Friday,
Yeah.
it would be Monday before their water's turned back on.
And that way, if they look at it, they realize.
It's the same handful of people.
The shut-off code is not written optionally. The option of not discontinuing service is not allowed in our code.
So it's
You are supposed to shut the water off if they don't have it paid in a timely basis, period. I mean,
I'm
just,
it's like what Elena said, it's gonna be a Friday, so maybe 3 days without water, but.
yeah, and the notice idea, that is.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Could be real helpful, but the code does not give you discretion to say, oh, forget it this month, because it's not there.
One last thing. Okay.
Yeah, Mike.
When you shut the water off, these 40 or 50 people instantly come in that day and pay the bills, or do they sometimes wait 3 or 4 days after the water's been shut off anyway?
There are a few people that wait, if they still have the money, they just do have.
I mean, if there's a good chunk of these that are going to wait 3 or 4 days to turn the water back on anyway, and waiting Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is no different than waiting Saturday, Sunday.
I've had someone come in a week to 2 weeks later to pay it, to get it
Wow.
on.
The majority of them have paid by the next morning.
Yes, yes.
The
I would
majority
say
of
Okay.
them have
You're talking just a handful,
Okay.
you know. The rest of them are, they either pay that day or they pay in the night drop and we turn them on the next day.
Okay.
The only
I
thing,
guess we'll just have to, we can get the word out.
the only thing about the notices is this is gonna be the same notice they get every single month. They're not going to notice a line that says this could happen on Friday and you could go the whole weekend.
Now, the other thing too about adding that note on there would be, they may come in at 4 o'clock and pay, but their water is probably already turned off by 4 o'clock because these guys are going home at 4. So it needs to be, you need to pay by this time.
Yeah, and we say that.
3:30, yeah.
3:30.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 2 drop dead times that we use. One of them is people say, well, I didn't have enough time, I couldn't do it. I'm on my way in. Our shut off is when we release that shut off list that morning and it leaves City Hall. that's when that $25, that's when that fee gets added to it. Okay, that's kind of a drop dead. Once it leaves City Hall, you're gonna pay that $25. The other is that 3:30. You need to be in by 3:30 to get it paid. If it's not, there is a good chance we're not gonna get it turned on.
Yeah, that's not very much time, 30 minutes. For the time from 3:30 to 4 o'clock. To get
Somebody
water
out there
back
that
on. So that's where I'm saying, that's where I was saying by noon or 1 o'clock at the latest. That way it gives,
Typically, most of them are paid. We don't have very many that can do. Typically, especially if the child's at home, they call the parents, okay, they don't have water. And it's made it better now that we can take payments over the phone. We have a lot of people call in and just pay it by phone with their credit card so we can get them back on. And so them coming in late in the afternoon has really decreased since we're taking payments by phone now. So it's not, that's not such a big issue anymore. Usually our big rush is when we turn them off up until like 1 or 2 in the
Probably the first 3 to 4 hours
Yeah.
after we turn it
Yeah.
on.
And the majority of people are back on by that time.
so is this turning on and turning off or turning off and then turning back on? Is that done electronically or is it done manually?
If that
We have to send somebody out with the
Yeah.
tool to do it.
That's why there's a $25 fee.
I'd love to do it electronically. That's my next goal, but we don't have that capability.
It's just that, I guess my thing is that 30 minutes just doesn't sound like a lot of time to get our folks out to the address, get it turned back on, and then get back in, clocked out, and go home by 4 o'clock.
And I will say Jimmy does a real good job. When we send the list out, he divides it up. Each one takes a small section of town and they do their little section. And then as we get paid, we call them back and tell them. So each person has their own section that they take care of. And they divide it out amongst all of them so that no one person has a lot to do.
And that half an hour is, by the time we get to the end of the day, there is not very many. You know, it's not a bad rush. You might get 1 or 2 or something like that.
So I think we put that note on the bottom of the shut-off notice or wherever in the shut-off notice says you need to pay it by 3:30 latest.
We'll try to put something on there cautioning them that it's over Friday this time. And if they don't have it on, they'll be.
Resumption will not start until Monday, the
Rick.
1st.
We'll figure something out.
Is it-
Okay.
So earlier you said it's like 40 people-ish. Could we call them on Tuesday?
I'm sorry.
There's like 40 people. Could we not sit down for 20 minutes and just call them on Tuesday and say, hey, your water's gonna be shut off Friday and you're gonna be without water all weekend? Just to give them that extra head up. Because this is, like you said, this is gonna happen once every 5 years.
I don't know if that's a precedent.
Yeah, that's the
set.
precedent you want to get into. Then the next month, well, you didn't call me and tell me.
So
Now,
just shut them off on Friday night.
Gary?
So when they do call in and to pay over the phone, do we at that time encourage them to go ahead and just set up for an auto draft?
we do.
All the time.
Okay.
We do. And we have a lot of people done direct drafts and whatever, but people that normally get shut off, they are continually, and I just don't. I guess maybe it's their pay periods, I'm not for sure what the deal is, but, those you'll never get signed up for direct draft, because those.
If they're paying $25 extra every month, practically.
But we do have a lot of people, if there's the unusual ones who just didn't get a bill or forgot about it, and they'll sign up for direct draft just so that never happens again. That kind
Yeah, like I did 4 years ago.
Mine's on auto. I don't trust my memory.
Blamed it on the post office. They wouldn't listen to me.
I wouldn't listen to you.
we have a lot of direct drafts. I think we got like 700 people on direct drafts now.
Really?
Yeah, it's been just a lot.
2 months later, I didn't get a little baggie with my bill that was shredded from the post office saying I'm sorry. Still cost me $25.
You would know somebody up here.
We
I'll
have
be in
meetings
tomorrow.
every-
I was on council now.
So,
Actually, I was mayor then. I got the notice the week after I got elected
It's
mayor.
easier if you've got it.
Welcome to the
I think right.
It's a good example. We don't-
That'll leave me.
Yeah, no, you don't, that's true. Is there anything else with new business with you, Mary Beth? Very well, then, no other new business, and the next is a closed session for revised Missouri statute 610-21-3, hiring, firing, discipline, or promoting of particular employees by a public governmental body when personal information about the employee is discussed or recorded. I would entertain a motion to go into closed session. This will be a hand vote if we are voted to do that.
Uh.
Not a hand vote, I'm sorry, a
Roll call.
roll call vote.
One question, are we going to be?
We're gonna do it in here.
Okay.
We're gonna do it in here. So
I,
we'll have to clear the hall when we get that, the council chambers.
I move we go into closed session to discuss employee.
Second.
Motion by Don Allen, second by Mark Sutherland, to go into closed session. It's a roll call vote. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mark Satterley,
Yes.
Gary Stubblefield.
Yes.
Mike Burns.
Yes.
Rick Glenn,
Yes.
Jim Buzzy,
Yes.
Roger Spencer.
Yes.
and Don Allen.
Yes.
7-0, we are now in closed session. I'd ask everyone